Star Trek: The Next Generation was a show.
Star Trek: The Next Generation
everybody
was
I interacted
a show
with
that I started watching when I was a really little kid. Can you believe it's been 30 years? Star Trek: The Next Generation first.
Star Trek: The Next Generation was my life as a kid. It was the escape from reality.
Welcome to Next Generation's First Generation, where Patrick Delmore and Sascha Schaudies take a look back into their favorite childhood show, Star Trek: The Next Generation. This is where we attempt to reconcile how we felt as children watching the show and looking back as old farts now in our late 30s, almost 40s.
Hello and welcome to our 23rd episode of Season 3 of Next Generation's First Generation. We'd like to thank you for coming such a long way and joining us to this lovely episode. Today we are reviewing Sarek, and this is a nice little throwback to the original series without actually mentioning or referencing the original series.
Well, they do a little bit.
Yeah.
Sarek was in the movies. And he was in an episode of the animated series. And keep in mind, this hadn't even been 25 years since the original series was on the air either.
Yeah.
So.
This is Mark Leonard, right?
Mark Leonard,
okay.
who played lots of aliens. He was the Klingon, he was a Romulan.
Oh, yeah.
He got around.
So he's one of those Star Trek's faces of talent of many faces.
Yeah. And I already know I like this episode more than Sasha does. So since it's just the two of us today, maybe we'll get in a knockdown drag out just like Geordie and Wesley.
There we go.
A Donnybrook, if you will. So we'll give you the countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and charge up our Chinese bootleg DVD, where I'm sure you can hear the gears grinding away as this player tries to play it. It's not as bad as the disc I had to throw out because it sounded like a humidifier running in the room. But all right, so 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Here we go.
Here we go. Oh, there's our beautiful neck shot.
I love that this thing on the side of the Enterprise looks like the charging port on an old iPhone.
Oh, with the long bars there.
Yeah.
Wonder what that is. Oh, they're in Vulcan.
Yeah.
Okay, they're picking up Sarek and his wife.
Yeah, there's going to be a meeting on the ship. We're in the dress uniforms. And these dress uniforms are dress uniforms. Because there's not a lot of difference between these and the unitards that some men on the Enterprise wear. Other than that they have pants on underneath them.
You know, they don't need to wear pants underneath those.
No.
They're just long enough.
Yeah.
Here's Riker going down. Excuse me.
I like that their hems are, that even though Riker's taller than Picard, their hems are at about the same height.
Yeah. Huh. So this is where Picard and Riker are kind of wax poetic about Sarek's resume.
And the big drop here that we had in both the autobiography of Kirk and the autobiography of Picard is Picard mentions having been at Spock's wedding. Or Sarek's son's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only other, quote, son that Sarek had is, of course, we covered him on Star Trek V, which was
Sybok,
who I don't think he didn't make it.
No, he did not. So these two gentlemen who beamed on board are Sarek's handlers, more or less.
Yeah.
And I found it really odd. Watching this as a child, I found it really odd that anybody would need a handler to help you, figure out your diplomatic schedule or to isolate you from social events.
Well, it's a tell for something that's going to happen later on in the episode. The shorter guy looks a lot like the actor Bruce McGill, but it's not Bruce McGill. You notice Bruce McGill is in every political movie you've probably ever seen where they have to have like a guy from the South who yells about something.
Oh, geez.
It's Bruce McGill.
Now that's settled.
So basically this handler has just uninvited Sarek from all these great activities Picard had lined up. They were going to do a Mozart concert in 10 Forward.
And Sarek has a new human wife. His original wife, Spock's mother, was Amanda. This is, I think this lady's name is Perrin.
We come to serve.
Earth girls are easy.
Service.
Yeah.
Allow me to present she who is my wife. Mrs. Sarek.
Allow me to present she who is my wife.
Yeah.
This is my first officer, Commander William Riker.
He who is my first officer.
Yeah.
Captain, would you be so kind as to show us to our quarters?
I'm going to have Riker do that. Is that a one?
I'm sure Sascha and I can handle all
I'd love to see Loxana Troy beam on board with Sarek. I don't think...
No, that would have been terrible. She would have just really quickly cut through all the red tape. It's like, oh, he's in no condition to have this to run this conference.
Right.
Too much.
But also, she being older than Picard and more experienced with emotions could have done the work that Picard does in this episode.
True, it would have really dismantled the premise.
Yeah, but I think that what happens to Picard here is going to be important for things that happen later on, possibly on the Picard TV show. Because now that Sarek was a big part of Star Trek Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And
In what way?
he was Michael Burnham's dad. He was on the Enterprise with him.
Right. Okay.
The other thing is that sorry, major spoilers for Discovery if you haven't seen it. Discovery was classified from everybody except for a handful of people, and Sarek was one of the people it was not classified from. So in theory, in this episode, when Picard takes on all of Sarek's memories and emotions, he learns about the Starship
existence
Discovery, yeah.
of Discovery. Wow.
Which at this point, all they knew about it was that it had disappeared with all hands.
Well, that's epic.
Yeah.
So, here we go. This episode was directed by Les Ledoux and story by Mark Cushman and Jake Jacobs. JJ.
Jake.
Alright, teleplay by Peter S. Beagle. Arroo!
Well, you know who Peter S. Beagle is.
No.
Who wrote The Last Unicorn.
No!
Yeah.
No way!
Look it up.
Already I'm liking it.
Yeah.
Alright, we got Donis McCarthy here, part of our now trio of musicians on the show. So this episode came out May 14th, 1990, so if you're lucky, the sun's out, maybe you're doing some yard work or driving to somewhere fun. There is the shot of the ship panning away, going to work. I always wondered...
Staple of my childhood.
I wonder how many times they had to reshoot that throughout the years, or did they just recycle the same thing over and over and over?
The meeting is taking place in this kind of swamp area that they've created on the Enterprise. And we don't ever get to see the aliens that are going to sit in this, which is a shame and a half.
Okay.
So this is a special bath. It looks like they just threw a whole bunch of bath bombs in there.
I have a date.
Oh, and Wesley has a date
Yay!
Really?
That's
with an
great.
actual ensign, not an acting ensign.
Well, Wesley's career has now been a little formally delayed.
Mm-hmm.
If he was on planet, he'd be going through the academy right now, but he chose to stay on the ship.
And Geordi's doing a really good, adult friend to a young person thing. He's like, I'm impressed that that you worked up the nerve to ask her out, and shakes his hand. He doesn't try to give him any weird advice or anything like that, because
I assure you, Ambassador.
yeah, when you're an adult dealing with a kid how old is Wesley? 16?
Yeah.
So technically he's it's still a pubescent.
It is vital.
He's on the cusp of manhood.
Yeah. You really don't want to push a kid in one direction or the other.
And fill their head full of
Yeah.
expectations that may not be true.
Right.
One thing I want to notice there, if this is a conference room where they're having this meeting, they had the bathtub table
Uh-huh.
and then a conference table right next to it, but it's almost as if the people in the bathtub would have not been included in those conversations if you look at the layup of the room.
I think
it's
that's
all
where
those guys over there.
Sarek's guys would have been sitting, but he also said that he needed to clear the room of everything else that was in it, and they hadn't had a chance to do that yet.
I'm 202 years old.
You think Picard is going to live to be 202? It's only another 110 years he has to live.
Possibly. 202 seems a little odd because we see some 300-year-olds in Enterprise, and they're looking pretty good.
Yeah.
My expectations of this voyage. Sharing his thoughts.
So Picard is hoping that he had an opportunity to buddy up with Sarek and get to know the guy and share his thoughts and memories. Little does he know, they're going to fire that gun in the third act.
Yeah.
For all we know, the ambassador might enjoy any entertainment.
Why not ask his wife if she'd like to attend?
His wife! Yes! Tiana! His wife! Will! His wife! His wife, everyone!
No one
Yeah,
ever,
you have the bridge number one. His wife.
no one ever thinks of the wife.
Come in.
So here
Hello!
she is.
Mrs. Sarek! It's Perrin. Yes! His wife!
His wife!
Yeah.
She so rarely gets visitors of her own.
Usually everyone wants to see the ambassador.
I find that
This woman is so ageless, this actress.
Yeah.
I can't tell if she's 60 or 40.
His quarters are quite comfortable.
No, she's younger.
The
Yeah.
ambassador and I were very pleased when we heard that the negotiations
Her
were going to
jewelry
take
is kinda
place aboard
stupid,
the
though.
flagship of the
Oh,
Federation.
Vulcan clothing is
My
stupid.
husband has taken in.
I can't stand it. I would have loved to see Vulcans more like elves
Satisfactory.
from the
My word.
Lord of the Rings series.
Satisfactory.
Some people who expect an emotional response often find Vulcans to be.
So she's kind of laying it down to Picard what it's like to be around Vulcans. They're having a good old human-to-human conversation here.
And your husband, if he's available, to a Mozart recital this evening.
So you drop the introduction, or the invitation.
She's like, I don't think Sarek can make it.
Doubt that the ambassador will be able to attend. But I will make
That's
it
funny.
ask him.
My female friend said asking his wife would nearly guarantee his attendance. Deanna, I've embarrassed myself. Really? Did you talk to his wife? Yes, I did, damn it!
Wah, wah. So originally they were going to work on a script involving both Sarek and Tasha Yar.
I say it's
Huh.
of no importance.
Already?
Well, it may have not fit into this timeline because she was killed in Skin of Evil, but they were working on the idea of those two working together.
Weird.
Because Gene Roddenberry wanted to have Leonard come back.
Yeah.
And they couldn't afford Leonard Nimoy, ironically enough, Spock,
Yeah.
for television. So here we go. We're back in the mudroom.
And now it's going to break down between Geordi and Wesley.
What I want to know is how they got water to get to 150
This is so not
degrees.
cool for him to say to Wesley that you don't really think anything's going to happen, do you?
Just what it sounds like. Let me tell you something. You get more action out of
A good
than you'll
book.
ever see on
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
LeVar Burton, you get more action out of a good book.
someone like
He said the thing!
Yep.
Since when did you become an expert on women? Compared to you, every male on this ship is an expert on women.
I
Bird!
love he says male and not man.
Virgin shaming.
What do you think is going on?
And Mr. Frakes here just says, hey, I'm the character asshole on this ship.
Yeah.
You guys can't be farting.
No, sir. Nothing wrong here. May I be excused, Commander?
Hey Wesley, don't you have a date later? Just remember, king's privilege. What? Nothing.
No, sir.
Woo! One odd thing is that they got that bathtub of mud to get up to 150 degrees Celsius. Isn't 100 degrees Celsius boiling?
Could be.
And 0 degrees Celsius is freezing? Now, is this 10 forward? Did they?
No, this is their little
a-
concert hall.
Oh, this is also where they did Frame of Mind.
Yeah.
Okay, this is actually the first time we see this set.
Might be, yeah.
Hey!
Or they could have just pushed some tables together and made it look like a different room.
Well, they had a conspiracy episode where they were doing an interrogation of a Romulan.
Yes. The drumhead.
Yeah, the drumhead.
That's coming down the pike.
Suggestion that we attend, it seemed an ideal diversion.
Yes, that's right. It was his wife's suggestion. Number one. Do you know who suggested it to his wife? You, sir?
Come on, the data.
Well, I don't wish to toot my own horn, but...
Toot toot.
Yeah. I could see Patrick Stewart doing that, too, with the pole over his head. Toot toot! Here comes Captain Picard!
Oh, man.
So
So
I
here
love
we are.
that Data's like, oh yeah, all these other human musicians, I'm gonna get up in front of them and go like, hey, I'm an android, I can play like any way I want to play, and these people just go along with it.
Well, it's kind of like going up to Brad Paisley is a famous country singer, and he can actually play about 20 different styles of finger picking.
Huh.
And he'll on his album Play, he'll actually call out the musician and then play in their style. So, it is possible to mimic other people's patterns. I would like to know what Data's style is, by himself, rather than play like another artist.
Well, he had a bad time with that, because he did kind of come up with his own style in that episode where he was having his crisis of confidence, where he and Picard actually had a conversation about it. He's like, everything I do is just, a combination of like 2 or 3 other people. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's unique to you.
That's right. So did Brent Spiner actually know how to play the violin?
I don't know. I mean, everybody else looks like they're people that they got to play instruments. That's a good question.
Now, I'm pretty sure that they're just playing to a soundtrack here, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if some of the extras are actually musicians.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And then this Vulcan, who's supposed to be, keeping everything secret, draws Deanna's attention by conspicuously whispering to the guy next to him and looking over at Sarek, who's shedding a tear.
Which is profound. So Sarek's always been kind of controversial as kind of exploring his emotions through associating himself with humans and having a wife and raising Spock. But he is breaking composure.
And
Picard
again,
sees this,
all
he knows
these,
something
he's
wrong.
got this. He's got literally 3 people that are supposed to make it. So this isn't noticeable, and they're all doing a terrible job of it. They could have had him. They could have had him sit up behind everybody in case that happened.
Put him in a box at the end of the row.
The cry boy box.
So now Picard has to sit here and listen to this concert with the guest of the party.
There you go.
Walk down.
Stop.
Yeah, we don't. That's enough, Mr. Data.
I don't
We've
know if
heard
everyone
enough.
else noticed, but Sarek was crying, and then he left with his wife.
Beverly's got a mean mug.
Oh, this is great.
The concert last night.
I said I may be going. Suzanne wanted to go to the Arboretum.
Oh, Suzanne. Is that the date?
Yeah.
Hey.
Picard asked me where you were.
No, he didn't.
I don't like making excuses for you.
Excuses? Come on, this isn't an official function.
Excuse me.
Listen, young man.
You have responsibilities to live up to the ship, and so when the captain says you be there, you be there.
Don't talk back to me.
Okay, I won't.
Where do you think you're going?
Away
from you. Oh, look at
She
that.
wanted to slap him.
And then I just
Abuse.
slapped him.
Child abuse.
Hard. I slapped Wesley. Do you know why you did it?
You slapped Wesley before. It's not so weird.
This is a formal counseling session.
Yeah.
She's in her office.
Correct.
Look at that.
I wasn't thinking
It's only the second time we've seen that this season.
Twice in
Or
one
ever
season.
ever on the show. The Barkley episode, Hollow Pursuits, and now
It's nice to see Troy doing her job.
Yes.
I know we
and
knock
the
her a lot in this podcast, but she does play a role. It's just we need to see more of it.
Over the last 2 days.
This is your command center.
So Troy's noticing everybody's getting angry.
and she basically gave her the, you know what? A lot of people sometimes get so mad they hit their kids. Just don't make a habit of it.
Just remember, Beverly, if the kid's still alive, that means you did something right.
And if he comes back and he's 40 and talks about the time you hit him when he was 16, your immediate response should be to turn around quickly and yell, "One time!"
Oh, boy.
Forgive me. I was merely exploring various possible permutations of our mission. Your tour of the bridge has been most...
So, for whatever reason, this aide is probing Data to find out if Captain Picard can take over negotiations should something happen. Was that the question? Picard or Data? I missed that. Oh, this is a great scene. You know, O'Brien is really the kind of bar fighting guy, too.
Totally.
Didn't your mother teach you manners?
Didn't your mother teach you manners?
Oh,
Hey,
look at that. Look at that.
Yay, Jordy's breaking it up.
what kind of problem here?
No, he didn't do the whoa, whoa, whoa. Just settle down.
Well, there are plenty of other tables.
Right? Chief?
Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna beam a hand grenade into this guy's stomach tonight.
I don't have to tell you that insubordination is a serious charge to be filed against any officer.
Yep.
And
I
this
do
is
not like walking down hallways with you. That came out of nowhere.
this right here is Worf's wet dream: to be walking down the hallway, bitching about an HR issue, and walking into an all-out bar brawl.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, where do we start? Which fight do I pick?" Throw it to the table. Oh. And where do they go?
Right into it.
Yep. I love how the female extras are throwing punches right along with the guys.
What the hell is going on here? I wish I knew.
This is great acting. And Guinan. Oh no, this isn't where Guinan pulls out the gun.
No.
She does that in next season though. Which is it?
I can't remember. I don't know if his wife's function normally or not. I never met Perrin before tonight.
The wife!
Yeah.
The wife!
But I mean, she is his wife.
Well, also in Star Trek, you see time and time again where the wife just kind of barely is hanging on while she's trying to keep her husband held together.
Yes.
Because they're either ignoring her due to preoccupation of work, or they just turn out
That would
to
be so weird. If you
nuts.
think about, this whole, if these people were still alive. I mean, if some of our historical figures were still alive, like after, like if Benjamin Franklin was still alive and still doing stuff and you accused him of, he has had syphilis since the 18th century. It probably has drilled some holes into his brain. It's like, that's Benjamin Franklin you're talking about.
Right.
The man whose picture's on the $100 bill.
There's our
Looking at the
sauna
goo.
again. We have the aide and Mr. Data. So you know what these are? These are side conversations that you can't directly have.
Yep.
Picard probably said, "Data, I'm not getting anywhere with the direct approach. Could you please talk to somebody on the side and work this out?"
Exactly. Because he can hit him logic for logic. Because the one thing is, it's like, yes, the Vulcans are super logical, but they understand emotions. So they can, like the guy that just talked to Picard, he was able to push Picard in a certain way by manipulating his emotions. This guy can't do that to Data.
Nope. Data cannot be swayed.
Yeah.
I wonder if Data is maybe like a cult hero to the Vulcans.
Probably not.
Like, look at this guy.
Because he didn't have emotions to suppress.
So really,
Sarek is a cult hero to the Vulcans.
True.
So that warm liquid goo, do you think that was a real tub they had on set, Sasha?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think they were getting in there and rolling around?
Having a party? Yeah,
just,
California hot tub?
just warming up.
Here's a rare looking up shot there, and then pulls away.
You haven't been doing a very good job. The strain of this mission on Sarek has made
It's such a serious episode. You think when the cameras were off, people's pants came off.
Kind of like the Governor Tarkin. He wore slippers on the Death Star.
Yeah.
Right now he could probably be wearing boxer shorts, Mr. Stewart. There, he probably would. Too.
Yeah, with little white with little pink hearts.
Well, let's back it up. We see Jonathan Frakes sitting down, so maybe his back hurt in that scene.
A logical, intelligent being.
Now, Frakes is going around with the union suit with the 2-button flap over the rear.
Oh, jeez.
I can only guess that he does not see, or he does not wish to see.
So they are surmising that
Against that truth.
everybody is kind of ignoring the fact that Sarek can't hold it together.
Hey, Riker stood up.
Someone has to confront him.
Why don't you do it, number one? Just kidding. No, sit down, please.
Look how crooked
I
his
think
stance
I'm
is.
going to have a conversation
Even you.
with his wife. Oh, now they're fighting.
March down there and destroy the land.
The mission with the Legarans cannot be carried out with Sarek in this condition.
And it's funny because
Captain,
I am used to everyone's okay with Frakes yelling and screaming.
Yes.
But not Picard.
Right. Worf's like, I was concerned they were going to kiss.
Again, in Worf's wet dream,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not just hugging and
Hey
kissing.
guys, why don't you go work it out in the goo tub?
This isn't gonna work until you guys start getting angry
Yeah.
with each other. I'm sorry.
Like the Garens found a lot of beard hair in there.
Oh, brother.
It was like Riker just scraped his face along the bottom of that
The
thing.
disease, there hasn't been a true case of it in my husband's lifetime.
Well, here we go. They're addressing the wife. Paraffin? Paraffin's a wax.
Yeah.
And she's in denial. Everybody's in denial. They're covering up for the leader. And this is
That is not true.
This is actually really true for the Vulcans, because the Vulcans have historically been known as a culture of silence. They
Yeah.
will not acknowledge a problem unless it's staring them right in the face, and even then they want to cover it up. Everything's fine, we have to maintain composure.
I'm sorry.
And this is exactly what Perrin's saying is like, no, you do not bring this up. This will destroy the man.
Do what, my wife?
Nothing. We're gonna go play some handball down at the
To
holodeck.
see me, you may do so.
So Picard is now faced with delivering the goods right there.
Yeah, don't speak, Picard. I know what you want. My wife is an attractive woman, and there's a tub of warm liquid goo down there. Unfortunately, I don't make those kind of decisions for her.
It's kind of like the Michael Jackson syndrome, where this guy is so tall they're not going to tell him what's happening or what's inappropriate.
Sascha, or as we call him here, the Big Vulcan.
The big Vulcan.
Like there's a guy on Tarek Nor eating hamburgers, going, "I thought I was the Big Vulcan."
I wish to speak with Captain Picard.
I ask you to reconsider.
Obey my wishes.
There's nothing to fear. Obey my wishes. This is a pretty bland conversation with some epic results.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Did you
basically
see this one when you were a kid?
Yeah, it bored me to tears.
Ah.
I hated it.
I don't think I saw this until, again, I was in my 20s. I saw the follow-up to it, the unification.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you are affected, sir. Far more than you realize.
Far more than you realize.
Finally, Picard gets his moment. A person-to-person conversation.
I know what side my bread's buttered on.
Support the Enterprise.
Doesn't really matter what side as long as it falls better up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna get all those beard hairs in there. Really. It's almost like he was vomiting those words. Illogical.
In 3 hours' time, we are scheduled to meet with the Bulgarian delegation.
And we're lit up like a Christmas
It
tree.
is now all too evident that Ambassador Sarek
Looking out my window!
conference.
Kitty Mo Picard! Livingston, somehow I don't know how I pull through. Oh, hello, Commander.
I will present our
I
address.
was just talking to my fish. Livingston.
I love how he keeps the bathroom door open. That's great.
Yeah. It's like a It's a door you actually have to manually pull shut.
Yeah, there you go. You know, every time I see this office, I always look at the carpeted walls and the lights up top.
Yeah.
That's just so bizarre.
Sorry, I'm just full of mucus.
If you've ever seen like an old cubicle that's been around for 10 or 15 years, you know those things get pretty nasty.
Yes, indeed.
You only imagine the walls. Maybe that's why Riker doesn't have any carpeting in his quarters.
Oh. They have that creature that lives in Gary Oldman's desk in The Fifth Element, goes around and cleans the shit.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
My husband's condition came on and so gradually it was easy for us to do.
So now they're going into the acceptance of the problem phase, but they don't know what to do. That headpiece reminds me of like those decorative eggs that you would see.
Yeah, very much so.
From like the 1800s.
Fabergé eggs. A lot uglier than Fabergé eggs, though.
I wonder if she had to like stick that to her forehead with a piece of tape or something just to keep it from moving around.
Stick it the ticket.
The mission can be saved.
Oh, she has a
I need
plan.
your help to do it.
So, why Picard? That's what I want to know.
Well, who would you pick?
The wife?
No.
Why?
Because she would learn things about him and his feelings for her that a close partner doesn't need to know.
Okay.
Would you want... I'm not going to say... Let's say your parent was going through something like... A parent of yours was going through something like this.
Okay.
Would you take on all their feelings and emotions so that they could get through something, knowing that you would probably learn that they think things about you that they would never say?
That'd be really tough.
Yeah.
That would be really tough. Well, then to say that Picard would be a good choice because we know we can trust him to remain professionally confidential. And there's no risk to any relationship because he's the third party. They'll never see him again.
Right. But it also creates, a bond that will never go away. I mean, just like when McCoy took on Spock's Katra in Star Trek 3, Picard is never gonna forget all the things that he learns during this moment.
Right. I almost want to say this would be an opportunity to replace Katra with the Austin Powers mojo.
Yeah.
He took my mojo, baby!
I don't suppose I could talk you out of it.
I'm afraid not.
That's a tight shot. Look how close you're standing to each other.
Yep. But I mean, she cares about him. She knows, how awful he's going to go through is.
And that's a very intimate stance right there. So it's not professional, it's friendship.
Yeah.
I see that you were ready, Captain.
How could he tell? Did he have his I'm ready jacket on? Oh well. So here we go. They're in the office. They're going to do the mind meld.
If I was Mark Leonard, I'd be like, okay, Patrick, I'm going to oil my hands up a little. I'm just gonna rub that bald head. I'm just so curious.
Oh jeez. Is there such a thing as scalp wax?
Yeah.
To make it shine?
Yeah.
He knows. Right there. He's like, holy hell. You didn't tell me you grunted so much when you pooped, Sarek.
The Lagarans are ready to beam aboard. Very well. Number one.
Oh, I so want to see the Lagarans.
I love this.
Oh, he's using Picard's mannerisms?
Yep. I really think that's cool.
Yes, Ambassador.
2 extras walking around.
Cute extras.
Wow, his gait has changed.
Yeah.
He's
A
moving.
sign of a good actor.
Yeah. He's not that infirmed man anymore. He is large and in charge.
I am myself again.
He's now the big Vulcan.
It has been a long time.
And I don't think we ever see the aides again.
No.
They're done. They're out. Yes.
I like this a lot.
Wrong. Wrong. A lifetime of discipline was to end.
Imagine having to sit here and watch your loved one just go through all this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they let him do this in his quarters. I mean, there's the glass table.
Well, it's got Beverly right there next to him.
She can just give him the off switch hypo.
I don't think you can, because it's like once he's not holding on to that anymore, it has to go back to Sarek. What would be hard for Beverly is that she knows about like some of the great triumphs and tragedies of Picard's life, and he's never vocalized them in this way. I think that probably when her husband died and he had to bring the body back, that there was more, embarrassment and shame than there was passion in him about it. He did that and he withdrew for a long time.
That's really interesting because I always thought he was processing Sarek's emotions.
He is processing Sarek's emotions.
But you almost insinuate for a second that he's also processing his own emotions through Sarek's lens.
Yeah. It could be.
Or it's both. Just as much as Sarek kind of picked up Picard's mannerisms, there's a little bit of Sarek and Picard. Oh, that's his first wife. Grayson?
I think it is Grayson, yeah.
I wanted to show you such.
That's good acting.
Oh, totally.
Tenderness.
A lot of it came to Professor X as well.
That is not our way.
That's true.
Spock. Amanda.
Cyborg!
Did you know? Married. And you know.
Well, then there's also Michael Burnham. I mean, they completely rewrote that whole family's history.
Yes. In the Picard biography, they mention him seeing Michael Burnham being rescued by Sarek.
Really?
Yeah, she has a very similar origin to Worf.
Finally, the tears come out.
But he's the author of that book, and I can't think of his name now, has wanted to do a Spock biography, and the history keeps changing with those characters because of Discovery.
It'd be better to write it digitally and then just send out updates every time an episode comes out.
Yeah.
The anguish of the man. Despair.
No amount of tea can put out this fire.
See, if I were him, I'd want to do this in the holodeck.
No.
Just have a safe environment.
That's not a safe environment.
The holodeck.
Where he is a safe environment.
His quarters?
It's like being it's like when you're when you get high on a drug and you need to be safe. Yeah, it's at a level with low light and you have one person talking you through it. Holodeck could do God knows what. I mean, he could get really agitated and be like, computer, bring in like somebody with a knife to stab me to death.
Yeah, that would mess with the paranoia just a bit.
Yeah.
Well, Will is wrapping it up. All of a sudden, everything seems to be okay. So this entire episode boiled down to calling an old Vulcan out that he has feelings, and then giving those feelings to Picard.
Yep, and some fights.
Good character acting.
Yes,
on both.
Very much so.
On Leonard and on Patrick. That was pretty good.
Yep.
But I tell you, this episode bored the heck out of me.
Yeah, I think we'll it hasn't even ended yet. We're about to give our ratings and say goodnight.
I'm going to give this one single solitary Vulcan tear.
Yeah. I was tired! It wasn't my fault!
And from this point forward, I don't think we see very many more Vulcan robes.
No. I went to the planet of the big nose people and I had one tooth come out. Toot toot. The baby died.
Yeah, I just noticed those robes are also hoodies.
Yeah, cowls.
I believe I have the better part of that bargain.
Well,
yeah, you would, Picard.
Picard's got everything he wanted. He wanted to have some sit-down, one-on-one time with Sarek at the very beginning of the episode. It just Wasn't
didn't happen the way
it
he
turned out.
wanted it to.
Yeah.
But or at least Notley went through it. I mean, it was a ritual, and he survived it, and he's a better person for it. He regretted it while he was going through it, as you would through any kind of trial by fire like that. You do wish that you weren't there.
But the
when
fire
it's over,
changes.
when it's over, when you come out the other side, you don't regret having done it.
The fire changes you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's finally over. Yay!
Goodbye, Sarek.
We will
You were a 202-year-old Vulcan with Bendai syndrome.
Oh, we see him next in season 4 or 5 during just before reunification
for the 30th anniversary of Star Trek. He comes back.
Oh my gosh! So, if this episode was written today, that whole 45-minute episode would be a 10-minute B plot while the ship is exploding.
It's funny to think that that's in 1990. Star Trek was 24 years old.
Young.
Yeah.
And then when we were watching it at 24, we thought 24 was ancient.
Now it's 54.
54. With how many shows in front of it?
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery. Now Picard. We are,
and the short treks, which we count as their own show.
We are 5 formal full series in the past.
Yeah.
My God, we're old.
We are.
What the hell happened?
So let's rate this sucker.
1 Vulcan tier.
1 Vulcan tier.
Oh.
I want to give it, even though I was very silly during this episode, I feel like for Star Trek overall, not just for this show, it's essential for the story of Spock's family to see that this happened. And I have a sneaking suspicion that it will affect the ongoing Picard series and possibly Discovery, since Sarek is such an important part of the Discovery universe.
You think the old man Picard will dig into his Sarek memory bank and link the 2 shows together?
I think he will.
Oh, brother.
Yep. So we'll find out in the future! And you know what the thing about the future is, Sasha?
What's that?
It's where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives.
Oh my gosh. That is so existential.
Yep.
Well, with that, we're going to say sayonara, see you later, and have a wonderful day.
Why am I interviewing you guys?
So you're the guest.
So Sasha, what is Star Trek?
Hi,
Next
I am the
Generation?
guest. So Sasha, what is Star Trek Next Generation?
Seek us out at Next Generation's First Generation at iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Music credits include Electric Car by Poddington Bear, Broke for Free, As Colorful as Ever, Growing Pains by Daniel Birch, Slow Lane Lover by Blue Dot Sessions. Audio engineering by Sasha Shouties. Chief Meme Maker and episode cover credit goes to Matthew Kirshner. Logo and graphic art design credit goes to David Clawwitter. And special thanks to Patrick Delmore for working with other podcasts to make sure the good word gets out.
Do you have a podcast that you think people should be listening to? Send us your promos and we'll play them on the show. If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sasha Shouties. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Good night.